So good morning. So today we are discussing about two important type of matrix. So one is consistent matrix, mass matrix, and one more is lumped mass matrix. Then other aspect of vibration, that is eigen values and eigen vectors, where eigen values represent natural frequencies and eigen vector represent the modal shape in the case of vibration. The first we'll discuss about briefly about the dynamic analysis. So when you're going for structural analysis, there are two types of analysis. One is dynamic analysis and one more is static analysis. So what you discussed in module 1, module 2 we have discussed about bars and trusses. Module 3 we discussed about torsion and we have discussed about beams. So even all those will comes under the static analysis. In the case of static analysis, there is no dynamic effect. The dynamic effect come into picture only because of inertia or because of the mass. So inertia forces we are familiar, mx double dot. So if there is a velocity, then there is an acceleration. So whenever there is an acceleration, then inertia forces come into picture. So now if you in the case of static analysis, the governing equilibrium equation is KQ is equal to F. That already you have discussed and you have solved many problems in the case of trusses, in the case of bar, in the case of beam, in the case of torsion. So you have discussed about KQ is equal to F. That is for the static analysis. When you come to dynamic analysis, that equation is slightly changes. We have mq double dot. So mq double dot is nothing but q double dot is nothing but mx double dot. So mx double dot is nothing but the inertia force. So other than your stiffness term, so we are adding one more term, that is inertia force. The inertia force is mx double dot in general, but when you come to finite element analysis, the displacement is referred by q and corresponding acceleration is given by q double dot. So that means in simple, the static analysis holds when loads are slowly applied or steadily applied. When the even when loads are applied suddenly, also we can go for the static analysis. But when the loads are of a variable nature, the mass and acceleration effect come into picture. The variable in the nature, in the sense, the magnitude of the load will be changes with respect to time. Those loads are referred as dynamic loading. So whenever magnitude of the load changes with respect to time, then it is referred as a dynamic loading. So in such cases, you have to consider mass as well as acceleration. That means in the case of dynamic analysis, so you are going to study one more matrix, that is mass matrix, other than stiffness matrix, because mass matrix is required to calculate the inertia force. So that as usual, no, the finite element method has been extensively and successfully applied to problems in the loads or of dynamic in nature. That is, they vary with time, that already we have discussed. We have displacement. The displacement is normally referred as Q in finite element analysis. The displacement will be changes with respect to time. So if you consider the vibration of cantilever beam, the tip of the cantilever beam will vibrate. The magnitude will be changes sinusoidally, or and at certain time magnitude is very high. Sometimes magnitude is very less. Sometimes magnitude of vibration and displacement is zero. Or in general, the finite element analysis or dynamic analysis, the displacement will be changes with respect to time, because as load is changes with respect to time, the displacement also changes with respect to time. So that's why you are writing, instead of just writing q, you are writing q of t, or we can say that the displacement is function of time. Same thing is that the same thing is shown here. Such situation arises when the structures are subject to loads due to blast or even earthquake or wind load. The earthquake waves will be changes with respect to time. The wind velocity will be changes with respect to time. In such cases, static analysis may not be much helpful. So components or system may fail or structure may fail by dynamic analysis. So now we are talking about under the action of dynamic loads, the structure has a tendency to vibrate or oscillate. So whenever member is subject to dynamic loading, so there is a chance of vibration. So vibration is a type of motion where the magnitude of the displacement or magnitude will be changes with respect to time when you come to with respect to FM. So most of the time there is a damping. So even we are air, there may be air damping or there may be fluid damping or oil damping. So initially vibration level may be very high. Even if we in the case of cantilever beam, if you pull the cantilever beam, if you leave it, it start vibrating. The slowly amplitude of a vibration will reduces to zero because of air damping. So because of the damping, slowly the vibration level will be decreases or amplitude of the vibration will be decreases. So now if you consider if a solid body such as an engineering structure, most of the engineering structures are solid body, so is deformed elastically. So most of our design application, you are going up to elastic deformation, not plastic deformation, and suddenly release. Imagine you have a cantilever beam, you pull, so it is the only elastic deformation, not plastic or permanent deformation. If you release it, it tend to vibrate. That means if you apply the elastic deformation to the cantilever beam, and if you release it, then it start vibrating with maximum amplitude initially. The slowly amplitude of vibration decreases and becomes zero because of damping. So that means it requires certain amount of energy. That energy we are getting from the stored strain energy. It is also referred as restoring strain energy. So now there are some terms we are using in vibration. So one of the term is frequency. So we have the definition for the frequency. We are familiar. We studied in physics also. Number of cycles per unit time is called frequency. Then, when you come to dynamic analysis, you are mainly concentrating on the inertial properties. There is an inertial load. Other than static load, there is an inertial load. So, yes, the system is subject to a dynamic behavior in addition to the stiffness properties. In static analysis, you are writing the equation KQ is equal to F. So KQ is equal to F. KQ is nothing but we have restoring force. It is getting from the stiffness of the material. That's why you are writing KQ is equal to F. But when you come to dynamic analysis, there is a one more additional term, that is inertial term. So even inertial term is nothing but mx double dot. But there's a general notation mx double dot. When you come to finite element analysis, it is normally referred as mq double dot. We require static analysis, we required only, most of the time we required only the stiffness matrix because it is based on the stiffness property. When you come to dynamic analysis, we require two matrices. One is mass matrix, that is taking care of inertial loading, and one more is the stiffness matrix. So that is nothing but a restoring for to take care of restoring one. So now we required inertial property due to mass is essential, which is represented by mass matrix. So to describe the inertial property, what is the effect of inertial property on the vibration level? So we required mass property. Then if you see what are the different types of mass matrix. So mass, based on how you are keeping the mass or how you are representing the mass in the system or in the softwares, based on that there are two types of mass matrices. The first one is the consistent mass matrix. The one is consistent mass matrix, and one more is lumped or diagonal mass matrix. So now most of the problems we are using the consistent mass matrix. So as name indicates, The consistent mass matrix means the mass is consistent over the element. But in the case of lumped mass matrix in general term, the mass is lumped only in the nodal point. Hence, the name lumped mass matrix. The consistent mass matrix is always symmetric matrix. But when you come to the lumped mass matrix, so it is diagonal matrix. So now, so we can derive the mass matrix. Already we have derived. So, but we have the general formula for deriving the mass matrix that is given by an element mass matrix is computed using equation. We have the equation. The mass matrix is represented by ME is equal to the volume integral of rho E n transpose n into dV. So important thing in this equation you have to remember is we have the shape function matrix n transpose as well as n. Those shape function matrices same matrix is used for deriving the stiffness matrix also, and same matrix is used for deriving the mass matrix also. Hence it is hence it is referred as consistent mass matrix. The consistently we are using the same shape function for deriving stiffness matrix as well as deriving mass matrix. So that means we have n transpose and n. The same n and n transpose are used for deriving the stiffness matrix as well as the mass matrix. The same thing is given here. By the application of same displacement model, so we are talking of the displacement model. The displacement models in finite element analysis again they described in terms of the shape function n1, n2, n3, etc. We know that u is equal to n1 q1 plus u2 n2 q2. That means we have displacement function u. Again, that particular displacement function is expressed in terms of the shape function n, that will be n1 and n2. The same shape functions used even in the case of the mass matrix also. That's why it is referred as consistent matrix. Hence, it is referred as same displacement models are used in formulation of the element stiffness matrix, and which result in element consistent mass matrix, which has the properties. We have finally we are deriving the mass matrix, which has the properties. The first property is symmetric property. Even stiffness matrix also symmetric matrix, and second one is positive definite. If you consider the diagonal element of the mass matrix, even stiffness matrix, so both the diagonal elements are always positive, no negative term. And one more is non-diagonal. The stiffness matrix is also non-diagonal in the sense, so other than diagonal element, the remaining elements are also not necessarily zero. Hence, it is referred as non-diagonal. But when you come to, there is a other type of mass matrix, that is lumped mass matrix, the where the lumped mass matrix is the diagonal matrix. Only diagonal elements are non-zero and all remaining elements are zero. Such type of elements are referred as the diagonal matrix. But when you come to stiffness matrix, it is not diagonal. The diagonal element is positive. So if you consider non-diagonal major diagonal element also, it may be all non-zero. There may be few elements may be zero, but all elements are non-zero. Now we have some advantages of using the consistent mass matrix. So one of the major advantages will get more accurate solution. So most of the cases, especially for the critical components, so accuracy is very important. Sometimes you may require, so it is very difficult to achieve 100% accurate the finite element solution. At least we can achieve around 98, 99, 99.5%, especially for the critical cases. And in general, in practical cases, most of the structures fail because of dynamic loading, not because of the static loading. Whenever there is an earthquake, so building may collapse, huge structure may collapse because those will come under dynamic loading. So one advantage is it is more accurate solution. So then if the model is, if the displacement models used are complete, the once you say complete, it is with the displacement model can be explained with respect to polynomial function. Normally you are defined u is equal to a1 a0 plus a1 x plus a2 x square. So then it's the displacement model. So suppose if you instead of going for a0 plus a1 x plus a2 x square, if you If you neglect a naught x, then it is not a complete. You are not considering the lower order polynomial term like a1x. If you leave that a1x, it will not become complete. That is what is the completeness of the displacement model. There is a separate module in the module 1 we have discussed. So what is completeness of the displacement model? So one way of writing the displacement function is in terms of polynomial function, like u is equal to a naught plus a1x plus a2x square, etc. And one more is we can use the trigonometric function also, like u is equal to a sine omega t plus pi by 2, etc. That is comes under the trigonometric function. Most of our case, as per your syllabus, we are dealing with only the polynomial function, except first module in the beams you are using trigonometric function. So that means we have the displacement model. Those are the completeness of the displacement model. To achieve accuracy, we require completeness in the displacement model. That can be achieved by using Pascal triangle. That is a separate chapter, Pascal triangle, where you have to how to consider the different terms in displacement model. Then one more is conforming element. Conforming, there are a separate type of element itself. Those are referred as conforming element. And eigenvalues are computed from consistent scheme. The eigenvalues and eigenvectors, that similar type of concept you studied in mathematics, but when you come to mechanical engineering, especially in the dynamic analysis, so there are three parameters to be remember in the case of dynamic analysis. The one is the damping factor, the xi. So one more is the natural frequency of the system. The third one is modal shape, how the material deforms, undergoes vibration. That is referred as a modal shape. So here eigenvalues. So eigenvalues correspond to, we have eigenvalues are correspond to natural frequency of the system. The eigenvectors are correspond to the modal shape. So there are, other than advantage, it has some disadvantages also. Disadvantage also. One of the disadvantages, the eigenvalue computed from consistent scheme can be shown to be overestimation of the exact frequencies. The meaning of that particular statement is, so imagine by using finite element method, by using your mass matrix, the stiffness matrix, by using governing differential equation, you are getting the natural frequency. Let's say overestimation. Imagine exact natural frequency is rated to be 1000 unit. If you calculate the natural frequency from the finite element method, then it may be overestimation. Instead of 1000, you may get 1100 or 1050. That is referred as overestimation. Then that is the one with respect to the natural frequency. When you come to the modal shape, so it is an underestimation. Imagine that one particular time the tip of the cantilever beam is moved by 10 mm, but in your finite element analysis, by using dynamic analysis, instead of 10 mm, so you may get only 8 mm. So actual value of displacement at t is equal to t1 is 10 mm, but in finite element solution at t is equal to t1, your displacement y or q become 8 mm. That is lesser than the exact value. Hence, it is referred as underestimation. So now that already we discussed, consistent mass matrix is derived from the same function. Function in the sense of is shape function that is used to obtain the stiffness matrix of the element. Already we have derived the stiffness matrix for the different types of element: beam element, bar element, torsional element, truss element. But same n is used for deriving the stiffness matrix as well as the mass matrix or consistent mass matrix. And consistent mass matrix, as name indicates, it has distributed elements. So mass is distributed through the element. But in the case of lumped mass matrix, the mass is distributed only at the nodal point. But in the case of consistent mass matrix, the load is distributed through the element. Hence, it is referred as distributed element. So now we already familiar with the equation used for getting the mass matrix, that is integration of n transpose n rho into dv. dv is the volume of the element, n is shape function, rho is the density of the material. So general expression to compute consistent matrix, already you have derived consistent mass matrix for the truss element, beam element. So now only thing is, for the truss element n may be different, beam element n may be different, and bar element n may be different. Here there is a slight difference between mass matrix M. The mass matrix M is derived or used in dynamic analysis, and stiffness matrix also you are using. There is a slight difference between mass matrix and stiffness matrix. The mass of the each element is equally distributed at all the nodes of the element. Mass is distributed in all the nodes of the element or mass matrix. Mass being a scalar quantity has same effect along the translational degrees of freedom U, V, W, and it is not shaped. It is a scalar quantity, it is not a vector quantity. Mass is familiar. Velocity is a vector quantity, but mass is scalar quantity. So one of the advantages of mass being scalar quantities, whether you are using local coordinate system or whether you are using global coordinate system, though no transformation matrix is required. But when you come to stiffness matrix, so especially we have derived stiffness matrix for the truss element. The original equation you are taking as stiffness matrix for the bar element. So when you view the truss element in local axis, the truss element behaves or act like the bar element. But when you view the truss element in the global coordinate system, x and y coordinate, then the stiffness matrix will be different. To get the stiffness matrix in the global coordinate, we required one more transformation matrix also, especially for the stiffness matrix. But those transformation matrices are not required for consistent mass matrix. Same thing is shown describing here. Mass being a scalar quantity is not influenced by the local or global coordinate system. We have local coordinate system. Normally, xi, zeta, and eta are the local coordinate system. Global coordinate systems are like x coordinate, y coordinate, z coordinate. Those are the global coordinate system. So that means we have mapping matrix. That is mapping matrix is nothing but transformation matrix. So then, so there are lumped mass matrix. There is many of the dynamic problems also can be solved by lumped matrix. So those matrices are obtained by placing concentrated mass. Srinivas. The lumped mass matrix, these can be obtained by placing concentrated masses at the nodes in the direction of assumed displacement degrees of freedom. That means you are placing a mass at the nodal point and it is in the direction of assumed displacement degrees of freedom. Assumed displacement degrees of freedom. So we have degrees of freedom. The mass is lumped or placed. That is, mass is not distributed mass. It is concentrated mass is lumped or placed at the nodes in the direction of assumed displacement degrees of freedom. That is the first point you have to remember in the case of lumped mass matrix. It means lumped mass matrix, the mass is not distributed, it is lumped at nodal point. So the resulting lumped mass matrix is a diagonal. Mass matrix is always the diagonal matrix. So these are the general instruction. We have general when you come to finite element method or when you come to dynamic analysis. There are two types of vibration. One is free vibration and one more is forced vibration. We have equations. In general, you study mx double dot plus kx is equal to f of t. So if it is forced vibration, f of t is existing on the right side. But if it is a free vibration, force is applied only at the starting point. When t is equal to 0, the force is applied. The force is applied to trigger the system, to initiate the vibration. Then further vibrates by its own. And because of the damping, vibration magnitude may comes down. That means in the case of free vibration, right hand side, it will be 0. If it is static loading, so there is only kq is equal to f. But when you come to dynamic analysis, other than kq term, there is a one more, the inertia term. The inertia term is m q double dot. The inertia term is mq double dot. But when you come to advantage of your lumped mass matrices, so we require very less computation time. So one of the reasons for less computation time is it is diagonal matrix, or all non-diagonal elements are zero. Hence, the computation time is also reduced. Since global mass matrix is diagonal, requires less storage space. So now, if you consider some of the disadvantages of global this lumped scheme over the constant scheme is that it leads to less accurate. Lumped scheme over the consistent scheme is it is a less accurate solution. It gives the less accurate solution compared to consistent mass matrix. And this equation already you discussed. The equation for diagonalizing of the mass matrix of the equation, we have equation. This is the mass matrix equation, rho into n transpose n into dv. That is the mass matrix equation. So when you derive the mass matrix equation, so there is a conservation of the mass at the element level. That is you have to remember. There will be a conservation of the mass at the element level. And accordingly, lumping that preserves the integral of rho e on the element will lead to convergent solution. So in finite element analysis, convergent solution is your solution approaches to the exact solution. Suppose you have the displacement, exact displacement of the beam is 100 mm. If you take lesser number of element, displacement may be only 90 mm. The finite element solution is 90 mm. If you go for more element, it may be 95 mm. If you go for further more number of element, if you're going for finer and finer elements, then it may be goes to 99.9 mm. If you go further and further, if there is no change in the finite element solution, then we are saying that it's a convergent. The finally it leads to the convergent solution. Your solution is try to approach the exact solution, then it is referred as convergent solution. So there are different methods are available for construction of element lumped mass matrix. So one is row summing method. So one more is diagonal scaling lumping method, and one more is lumping scheme using numerical integration. So we are talking about the mass preservation. So imagine we have 10 element. So 10 element mass is m1, m2, m3, m4 up to m10. So that is represented in summation. Summation I is equal to 1 to n, mij, mii. Right? This is the total mass of the system or structure. Total mass of the structure is equal to, because structure is divided into smaller and smaller element in finite element method. So total mass means the mass of the element 1, mass of the element 2, mass of the element 3, that we are representing in terms of summation. Summation I is equal to 1 to n, MIE. So V into, on the right hand side, we know that the mass is given by density into volume. Mass is given by density into volume, or the density is equal to mass per unit volume, that you can get it to mass is equal to density into volume, that you have to go for the integration. Because you are taking the smaller element, to get the total mass, you have to go for integration. So now where MIE are the diagonal element of lumped mass matrix ME, N is the number of degrees of freedom in the element. So when you come to actual implementation using finite element software, or in general term used is computationally, the lumped mass matrices are convenient and economical, that it requires less storage space, less computation time to use. Hence, it is preferred in practice, especially for the practical cases. So lumped mass of the element is assumed equally distributed at all the nodes of the element in each of the translational degrees of freedom. Suppose we have the triangle, you consider triangular element. The total weight of the triangular element is let it be 100 grams. This 900 grams. So this 900 gram is equally distributed at the nodal point. 900 divided by 3 means 300. Node 1, 300 grams is applied. Node 2, another 300 gram is applied. Node 3, another 300 gram is applied. In the case of lumped mass, same thing is given here. The lumped mass matrix of the element is assumed equally distributed at all the nodes of the element in each of the translational degrees of freedom. So, and one of the drawbacks of this is the lumped mass matrix cannot be used for the rotational degrees of freedom, like your torsional. Already you have studied about angular deformation, that cannot be used in the angular deformation. We cannot use for because there is a rotational degrees of freedom. Theta is the rotational degrees of freedom, and if you say x or q, those are the linear degrees of freedom. The only linear degrees of freedom, lumped mass matrix can be used. For rotation degrees of freedom, the lumped mass matrix cannot be used. So that will finishes the mass matrices. In dynamic analysis, there is an inertia effect because of movement, because of the acceleration. The inertial load is given by mx double dot. In finite element analysis, mx double dot is given by mq double dot. Other than stiffness term kq, we have one more term mq double dot plus kq is equal to f. That is the equilibrium equation for the dynamic analysis. We are adding additional term mq double dot in the case of dynamic analysis. So then mass matrix, there are two types. One is consistent mass matrix. The load is distributed, mass is distributed consistently in the over the element. There is a one more type of matrix, that is lumped mass matrix. So mass is lumped or placed only at the nodal point. Then such type of matrix are referred as the lumped mass matrix. Now basic purpose of going for the vibration analysis is, so we require three important parameters in vibration analysis. One is the damping, that is normally referred to damping factor, that is xi. Second one is we required what is the natural frequency of the system, and third one is the how structure vibrates, that is referred as the modal shapes. So those three things are required. But damping, you can conduct damping. Xi can be calculated from experimental methods. But the other two parameters like eigenvectors and eigenvalues, the eigenvalues refer to natural frequency of the system, and eigenvector refer to the modal shape. Those things you studied in mathematics. With respect to mathematics aspect, you studied eigenvalues and eigenvectors. We found out some values also, eigenvalues and eigenvectors also. But when you come to mechanical engineering, especially for dynamic analysis, you have to remember the eigenvector refer to modal shape, eigenvalues refer to natural frequency. The governing equation for structural dynamics provides general expression for structural mass and damping. So that's same thing here. So we have a vibration equation, that is nothing but second order differential equation. Normally you are referring as mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to f. But in normally in vibration, in finite element analysis, the displacement is instead of referring by x, it is referred by q. Q double dot is nothing but acceleration. Q dot is nothing but your x dot, the velocity, and q is displacement. This is the globe. This is the equilibrium equation for the dynamic analysis. If it is static analysis, q double dot is zero because no velocity acceleration, and cq dot is also zero because velocity is zero because it is static. And we have q double dot is nothing but global nodal acceleration vector. So other than your displacement vector, in dynamic analysis, we will come into another two types of vector. So one is velocity vector. The velocity vector is given by q dot, and one more is global the acceleration vector, that is given by q double dot. It is almost equivalent to x double dot. So now, if the damping is neglected, if there is no, if the damping coefficient is very less, we can neglect. But in finite element analysis, you are neglecting this term as per your syllabus. You are considering only the mass effect. One more is stiffness effect. Then this equation reduced to equation one. This is a general equation. It may be applied to forced vibration or free vibration. In the case of free vibration, load is applied only at the when t is equal to 0. When t is greater than 0, load is 0. Hence, right hand side becomes 0. Once in the right hand side is 0, then it is referred as the free vibration. That is referred as free vibration. Now we have term like q double dash. How to get the q double dash? So you can get the displacement by using finite element method. So once you differentiate displacement, you get velocity. So once you differentiate velocity, you will get the acceleration. We have the equation 2. This is a general equation for the displacement in the case of vibration. Once you differentiate, you will get velocity. If you go for second differentiation, we will get acceleration. So where omega refer to circular natural frequency, that is 2 pi n, it is nothing but 2 pi n. So now that if you substitute all, wherever you have q, differentiate once and twice and substitute, and after simplification, so we'll get this. Imagine you have the equation 1, after substituting q double dash and q and further simplification, so we'll get equation number 3. We have k minus lambda. We can observe here lambda is nothing but omega square. So omega square is nothing but a natural frequency square. So this natural frequency square is replaced by lambda. So our finite, the main purpose of for your finite element analysis, especially for the vibration, is you have to find out lambda, which is a quadratic equation. You will get minimum two the roots. One is lambda 1 and one more is lambda 2. As it is free vibration, on the right hand side you get 0. So lambda is already we have discussed. Lambda is equal to omega square. So for a non-trivial solution of the above equation, it is necessary that determinant of the coefficient of x be 0. We have a determinant of the coefficient of the x is, the coefficient of the x is nothing but, we have, if you see this equation, the coefficient of the x matrix is k minus lambda into m. That is the coefficient of the x. That should be 0 for non-trivial solution. That's the same thing. A determinant of ck minus lambda into m is equal to 0. This part, only this portion you are writing, this portion. So now eigenvector, we are talking about the eigenvector. It is a vector, it is a column vector. So give the shape of the vibrating body of the ith mode. There's the first mode of vibration, second mode, and third mode. In general term, we are saying it is a ith mode of vibration. So x is nothing but the vector of nodal amplitude of vibration. The difference between static vibration and the static analysis and dynamic analysis. In the case of static analysis, the displacement remains constant. If we apply around 1000 kg of load, the beam will deform. The deformation will be 0.3 mm. That 3 mm remains constant, it not changes with respect to time unless and until some additional load is applied. Otherwise, remains constant. But when it comes to dynamic analysis, same displacement vector q is changes with respect to time. That means x is nothing but a vector of nodal amplitude of vibration. What is the amplitude of vibration at node 1? What is the amplitude of vibration at node 2, 3, etc. is given by x. And we are already, we know that circular natural frequency, we have the formula we studied in physics also, even vibration also. The circular natural frequency is given by omega is equal to 2 pi f, that is the circular natural frequency. And finally, if we simplify this, we will get kx is equal to lambda into mx. We cannot cancel x and x. X is the vector here, the displacement vector, and here also displacement vector cannot cancel. X is equal to x and x. X here x refer to eigenvector representing vibration mode corresponding to the eigenvalue lambda. We have lambda 1 and lambda 2. Eigenvalue is nothing but omega square. If you take the square root, we'll get lambda 1 and lambda 2. So at lambda 1, what is the value of x eigenvector? At lambda 2, what is the value of eigenvector? Those things already we discussed. We have done problems on the vibration dynamic analysis also. We can refer those problems for what is to know what is lambda 1. Once you substitute lambda 1, that is for the first mode of vibration, what is the mode shape? What is the once you substitute lambda 2, so what is the modal shape? Those practical problems are solved. Already 2 or 3 problems are solved in the classroom only. So eigenvalue lambda is the square of the circular natural frequency. That is nothing but lambda is equal to omega square. So that will finishes the vibration. This dynamic analysis. We are discussing about eigenvalues, eigenvectors, then how to find out the eigenvalues and eigenvector, then how to determine the mass matrices, and how to get, what is the differential equation for the free vibration, what is the differential equation for the forced vibration, and considering mass. So that is finishes today's class.